This conference will now be recorded.
So again, chapter 6, part 2, chapter 6, Seder Hashgacha. God arranged that all that which happens in the world above and works its way down to us, whether it's as a result of our actions or as a result of what he deems this world needs. It all happens in a structure that is similar to Malchut Haaretz, to the way governments, structures, court systems are arranged here. V'chein amru Chazal, and the sages said in a similar manner, Malchusa derikia ke'ein Malchusa da'ara. The kingdom of the heavens is similar to a kingdom down here on earth. V'hainu, meaning the Batei Dinim, that you've got Batei Din, you've got courts. Sanhedriot, you've got greater courts. Im kol darcheim v'chulkuteim lazeh, with all of their manners. Kinei sider Batei Dinim shonim, God has arranged different court systems above, comprised of nimtzeim ruchaniyim, these spiritual beings. B'madregot yuduot uv'star miduim, according to different levels and arrangements. Shelifneim yarchu kol enyanim haru'uyim lishafet, that through them whatever needs to be judged is judged. Ubegzeiratam, and based upon their decree, yakumul kol advarim, that is how matters will come about. Like Daniel said, Begzeirat irin pit gama, that the pit gama, the decree, is Begzeirat irin, comes about through the decisions of the irin, of those overseers. Again, exactly why? Let's continue on, and we'll see if we'll get an understanding. Beth, number 2. God himself appears, so to speak, in all of these different din, all of these, the English here puts it as deliberating bodies. Umashpia bam, and he has an influence on them. Umamidam al tochen ha'enyan shebe'emet, and he makes sure that they understand the actual essence of every issue that's going to be decided upon. That way, sheyetzeh mishpat la'amito, that the judgment comes out la'amito, in a true manner. The yesh minas and there's those that Kosh Baruch Hu sham l'rosh, where God is there as the leader. As we find the king in the prophets and kings, it says, one of the prophets says, Ra'iti Hashem, I saw God Yoshev al Kiso, sitting on his throne, the Chol Tzva Shamayim, and all the hosts of the heavens were there on his right and on his left. And of course, God, Hashem, does not have a right and a left. There is no corporeality. But what that means is, Chazal explain, Elu Maiminim L'Zchut, on the right are those who offer Zechut, who are arguing in favor of, bringing forth merit. Ve'elu masme'ilim, and those to the left are lechova, are in order to convict, to obligate. And Daniel, again the prophet Daniel says, Adi karsavan remiv, va'atik yomin yitiv, dina yitiv, v'sifrin petichu. Karsavan ramayu, the thrones are set. Atik yomin, the ancient of days, meaning God, sits, so to speak, and the dina yitiv, the judgment is set, the sifrin petichu, and the books are opened. V'amnam ikar davar kachu. The reason for this is, as we said before, just how many factors go into the din, the judgment of each and every person. Kinei bichlal, b'chol ish ben Hashem, every single human being. Yimatsu ta'anot rabot, there'll be many claims, differing claims. Lefi sibot shonot, based on different factors, different reasons. Liot nidona ish hu'ledrachim rabim b'darchei hamishpat. Arguments could be made why each and every person should be judged in each and every possible way that human beings are judged. because we ourselves are such a composite of so many different actions, some lofty, some lowly, and even our actions themselves are composites of so many different thoughts and motives and impulses. Ubiprat gam came b'chol masa u'masa imenu. Not just every person has so many different factors at play. Like I said, every masa u'masa, every act that we do. Hine yimatzei bo b'china lizchut u'b'china l'chova. There are positive aspects and motives for things that we do, and there are negative aspects and motives. The comments dadim rabim, and there are so many different ways of approaching it. Ki kol inyanei olam murkavim. Every aspect of this world is a composite b'harkavot rabot be'emet of so many different layers and so many different factors going into it. V'nifshachim derechim shonim, and each one of those factors could lead to a different direction. So how is judgment reached? Every single one of these aspects, of these factors, are brought up, are discussed, are deliberated in this Beit Din above. And every single spiritual angel, let's call it angels for simplicity's sake, is bringing up one aspect. Achebein kulam, that as a result of all of those angels in this heavenly Beit Din that are involved, mitkalot habichinot kulan, every single aspect has been presented. Lo nichad davar, not a single one is omitted. And only then va'az yishakel ha'inyan, and then the matter is weighed. Levikol habichinot mitot hahin, based on all of these factors, the Teitzei HaGzeira Kfi HaNaot, and the ultimate decree, decision, will then come out in a proper manner. V'ulam Hagamar Hazeh Yaseu Mishu Rosh B'Beit Din Hahu. The one who issues this decree, this decision, that will of course affect what's going to happen down in this world, is by the leader of that Beit Din. And it was from the Bati Din Shadon Baruch Hu wrote Sev Yeshiv Shalom LaRosh. It was from those which God is convening as the Yoshev Rosh, as the leader. Hine Afal Pi Shakol Tzafar Lefanav. Even though everything is revealed before God, Yaniach L'chol HaMishartim Asvel Shavav, He allows all of those assembled, all of those spiritual beings, Sheyitanu Lefia Mitkaleh, that each one can make the claim to argue habichinot hanyan be'emet, each of the aspects, v'yigmar davar k'fi ra'oi k'mo shezacharnu, and that way the matter is resolved, comes out in a proper way with every action and every aspect of every action having been brought up. Nimsa lefi shoresh zeh, and this might be the key to understanding somewhat this. And the result, according to this principle, God does not judge this world based on His knowledge, which is all-encompassing. Rather, according to the system that He arranged for this purpose. Why? Well, let's see the next paragraph, and then I could offer at least an instance from the Navi, from the prophets, that might help us understand somewhat why this is. What he further arranged, that he will not allow any judgment to go forward until those angels, those spiritual forces that are in charge and involved in this case, that they come before him. He has appointed these different angel overseers to oversee all that which transpires in this world, and they will come up to this heavenly court, v'ya'idu, and testify ala dvarim, on these matters, shehisigu v'nigalahem, that they understood, that they perceived, that's revealed to them. Va'az yavo hanyanim b'mishpat. And that's when then the judgment will go forward. Ukvar zacharti pamim, I've already mentioned a number of places, that this is not for God to gain information. It's not that God needs this information. God doesn't need this. God, everything is revealed to God. But this is the way he decreed it according to his wondrous wisdom. Why? Right? Why? A possible understanding in the why. In the Navi, we hear about the king Ahab, who was a very evil king. Nevertheless, when we went out to battle, we won every single battle. And the sages explain, why is this? Because the heavens mirror our actions. And if we are speaking badly about others, then that's what gives the power in the heavens for the accusing angels to speak badly about us and to bring their accusations to this heavenly court. But if we are careful not to speak badly about others, then they cannot speak badly about us. There is no accusation in court. There is no court case. And therefore there will not be any judgment as a result of our actions. So perhaps by arranging it in this manner, as opposed to it all going according to God's full yediyah, God's full knowledge that he has, so this places some layers, some buffers, and thereby allows mankind to have some more time. So that's a thought that we have from some of the teachings we have by the Navi.
Rabbi, I have a quick question.
Yes, Esther.
So in the topic of the Providence, basically, are we talking about for individuals or for nations, or just just this is generally the way it works in every sphere?
For all of the above. For all of the above.
For all, okay. So
it's for all of the above.
So, for example, in what you're saying about, just the different intelligences that speak about these things, the angels, the malachim, however you want to put it. So, for example, at the beginning of the book of Job, all the angels came before God, and, they had what have you been doing? Where have you been? What's going on? I mean, is that kind of that idea?
I think so. I think it is a glimpse into the book of Job would be a glimpse into these dealings above. And actually we'll soon hear about the Satan, right? The accuser, the Satan.
Right.
We'll soon hear about the role that he plays. And we're going to quote from Eov, actually, and other places also. The Alpi Eila Hastarim, and according to this system, Minaheg Olam Be'emet, that is how this world is, that's a system through which this world is run. And it is this system that the different verses allude to, Bimalitzotehem, using their parables and their metaphors. As it says, Vayered Hashem lirot, that's back in Bereshit, with Sodom and Gomorrah. God came down to see. Or, as you quoted in Eov and Job, Vayavu b'nei Elokim lityatzev, the angels. That was by Bavel. God went down to see. Or the B'nei Elohim, these angels gathered. Einei Hashem, the eyes of God. Heim hamashotetim, they spread out throughout the whole land, b'chol haaretz. Eila sheshalach Hashem l'tolech ba'aretz, or these are the one that God sent to go across the land. V'achen keila, many other such examples. Hakol nema, they were all said al darchei hanagazot, about this system. Kafi hastorm shesider, according to the arrangements that God set up. Botam malachim hamufkadim lashkiach l'nei olam, and those angels that are assigned to oversee what's happening in this world and to come back up and testify, those angels are called Einei Hashem, the eyes of God. Uvihi galoti barak shemo, and when God appears in one of these Beit Din to judge, kagon inyan boni hamigdal, like when they were building that tower against God, Nemar says, Vayered Hashem Nimrod, God went down to see, meaning God himself involved himself in that Beit Din. And all such other similar cases. But of course, we need to understand the only parallel is in the structure, in the system between what happens in the heavens, what happens the way the system in the heavens and the system down here. But in the way that it is implemented, the way that it is acted upon, Eina Dimyon Amiti, that of course is not parallel. The Gashmim in the physical, it's done in the way that we're able to do it, based upon all of our understandings and abilities, which is always very limited. Whereas in the spiritual realm, there it's done on their level, according to their understandings and the way that they do it. Dalid 4 v'hinei Samadan Baruchu et HaKetegor. God has appointed what we call the Kategor, the accuser. V'hu Satan, that is known as the Satan, the Satan. Shenemar v'yavo gam ha-Satan b'tocham. The Satan also came amongst them. And this is an area where Judaism and Christianity veered far off from its mother religion, Judaism, in that it ascribes to the Satan its own individual power, and he's fighting against God. And we say, and that really just falls into the Christian theology that one doesn't mean one, and therefore there can be these other forces that battle against God. But according to Torah, Emet, Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, God is one, 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 one. And therefore the Satan is simply an angel, a messenger of his. And that messenger of his is there as the accuser, who will bring up things that to our detriment. And on a more practical level, that Satan is the one who will give us the challenges in life in order to allow us to fully grow and develop and self-actualize. So I like to call at least the Yetzer Hara, if not the Satan, our own personal trainer. The personal trainer pushes us to our limit, and that's in a physical sense. And the Yetzer Hara pushes us to our limit in a spiritual sense to allow us to grow stronger, just as a physical trainer allows us to grow stronger in a physical sense. Upekudato, but this Satan in the heavens, the Satan, his mission is litboa din b'batei adin, to demand judgment in these courts. Ukashu tovei ora dayanim v'yishpotu, and when he demands a court case, then the judges have to go ahead and judge. As I mentioned before, during the time of King Achav, that we were not accusing one another, and therefore it was stom piv Satan. It closed the mouth of the Satan. He was not able to convene these courts and to make his accusations. And that is, like I said before, maybe this is one of the understandings. It's God's goodness that there will not be any judgment until the accuser actually brings his accusation. Even though God knows the sins, they're all revealed before God, and he doesn't need the accuser to bring anything up. But if it doesn't get brought up, then even though God knows it, as he knows everything, there is no action upon it. And for this also there are different arrangements, different protocols. Perish for these accusations of the accuser. How? Matayeh, when? As the sages have said, Hasatan mekatreg bishat hasakana. During a time of sakana, you put yourself in a place or a time of danger. That is when these accusations can go flying. Also what the sages said, there are different things that will cause a person's sins to be mentioned. Right? So there are all of these arrangements that limit when the accusations can be made. Actually, the Gemara famously says that Ha-Satan, the name the Satan, the gematria, the numerical value of that is 364. Because there is one day a year, the 365th day, where he cannot do any accusations. And that is on the day of Yom Kippur. V'ulam, paragraph 5. L'chol inyanei mishpatim ha'ela. When it comes to all of these different judgments, bichlalam v'prateim, in general and in detail, chukim u'drachim mesudarim, all of the protocols, the arrangements, the laws, the bylaws, the manners in which it is done, it's all mesudarim, it's all arranged, kamoshe gazra chachmatoy v'achshemo, based on the decree of God's infinite wisdom. Lizmanei hamishpat, the time for judgment, v'lebchinotav, and the manner, as the sages say, kamash am chazal, ba'arba prakim nidon ha'olam nidon, at 4 different times the world is judged. Umash am melech nichnas chil l'din, first the king is judged, mikami telefush charon af, before there is a more major judgment on many people, which will increase the amount of heavenly anger. Right? There are all of these protocols that are set up. One of the things we speak about on the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, is that there is a gzar din, there is a decree. And before the decree, kodem, before the gzar din, there it's much easier to change direction and to change the direction that we're going in and the direction where the judgment is going. La'acher gzar din, after the decree, then it's a lot harder. And perhaps this gives us a glimpse into another aspect, another reason perhaps that we can start to fathom as to why God might have arranged it in such a manner. We're familiar with the system down here. So when we're familiar with the system down here, and we understand that God instituted a similar system there, so then we know how we have to work within that system of before the gzar din, before the decree, and also after the decree. You know, when we're talking about the times of these judgments, we just had the holiday of Pesach, and the blessing that we say in both the Kiddush on the holidays and also on the Amidah of the holidays is blessed are you, God, Mekadesh Yisroel v'Hazmanim. You sanctify Israel and the times. When it comes to Shabbat, we simply say Mekadesh HaShabbat, that God, you sanctify the Sabbath. We don't say you sanctify Israel and the Sabbath. When it comes to the holidays, it's you sanctify Israel and the holidays. And an explanation that's given for that is we don't sanctify the Shabbat. Shabbat is set from the time of creation. The 7th day is Shabbat, 7th day Shabbat, regardless of what we do. Whereas Israel does consecrate the holidays and the times. That is, it is the Beit Din in Jerusalem that would decide, are we adding a month to this year or not adding a month to this year to even out the lunar and the solar calendars? Is this month going to be, every lunar month is actually 29 and a half days? Will this be a 29-day month? In which day Pesach will be 1 day earlier? Or will this be a 30-day month? And therefore the following month Pesach will be 1 day later. So we are the ones that control this Zman. And the Gemara tells a story that the angels convened on Rosh Hashanah for the heavenly judgment of the world. And God said, no, my children didn't make this. My children made it a 30-day month. Rosh Hashanah will only convene the next day. So we have a certain control, a certain aspect. And perhaps it was arranged in order for us to realize that we need to work within the system. So there's a difference between prior to the decree, after the decree, and other details that come up with this. So again, that is a system that is in place. Exactly why? Well, we can never fathom exactly why, but I shared some thoughts as to perhaps why it was arranged in such a manner. Okay, my friends, being that we're somewhat understaffed, undermanned this week with some people traveling, let's stop here. We'll pick up Perek Shvi, the 7th Perek, next week.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us, Dali.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Esther. Dali, I don't hear you.
Oh, can I ask you
Now
real
I hear
quick?
you. Sure.
This is something I've wondered about a lot. The Sefer wrote, because there's 10, but it seems like there's 11, because there's like, sometimes they count Keter and sometimes Dot, and I'm always confused by that.
Yeah. So the way it works, in my very limited understanding, is that each group of 10 spheros is going to connect to the group underneath it. So you constantly have this linkage. So depending how you're looking at it, the top one is connected to the bottom of the level above. The bottom one is connected to the top one of the level below. And that's how at times you can get different